So here we have it, the Arrow low boy exhaust pipe. It's going to be changed for the new Custom Werkes short exhaust pipe. To get to it though, I'm going to have to take the belly pan off, take the radiator off, and also to take the header pipes off. So first thing to do is take the body parts off, the belly pan, and then take the radiator off by removing 4 bolts and unplugging the auxiliary fan, and then start working on taking all the pipes off. I'll need a new header pipe though, as this low boy is a decat. So taking the radiator bolts off, taking these cowls off, it was loose, just hanging, taking the bolt at the bottom off. Radiator is now loose, but what's holding it up is these pipes here for the coolant. So that might make it a little bit messy, so I need to put something down to absorb all the coolant that's about to leak out. So you take this pipe off as well to finally release this and then get access to the header pipes. Here's an update. I have to take the sensor out because it's replacing the entire system to get into the access to the pipes. As you can see, the mess from the coolant. These springs that retain the header pipes are very awkward to get out, and plus access to the header pipes is even more awkward. I'm trying to keep it simple by keeping the radiator on, because this is quite a tricky job, because I have to end up taking the clutch cable out as well if I have to take the radiator out. So that's the clutch cable here, there. So I end up having to take this out because this feeds through the radiator and onto the clutch. So it's a bit tricky, and now a bit of squirt of WD-40 or equivalent to actually loosen some of the rust off the bolts. Definitely need a mechanic's toolkit to get access. This is a flexible connector to the socket sets. Just generally need good spanners and everything. Well, there you have it. Whew, it's off. It's the entire decat system, the Arrow system. Just a few tips. These Jubilee clips that keep coming loose for the coolant, these things, it might be worth while you got all the bodywork out, is just turning around so it's easy to access. The O2 sensor, as you can see, just taken out, and just the clutch cable still intact. Radiator just had to move around to get access to the pipes. Took the bolts off first, and then took all these extra bolts off to loosen out, and then the springs as well. So pull the springs with a good pair of long nose pliers. Good. Next stage, to put on the header pipes. So got another set of header pipes. What you have to do with these are the stock header pipes. You have to cut the catalytic converter end off. To get to that, you have to obviously remove this heat shield, and then to saw off the end pipe of the catalytic converter just here according to the instructions, and then of course slip on the new Competition Werkes pipes and just clamp it together. So here's the header pipes. You have to saw this end off now. The new pipe's not going to end up fitting unless you file off all these excess welding. So it needs to file off all these excess welding and then slip it on. Okay, the header pipes are on. Hard work, but they're on. And now the slip-on's on. Now to finally tighten all everything else up. Bodywork. The air sensor was difficult because the fuel tank had to come out and attach the clip, which there is no slack. Now I need to attach this securely, and away we go. Alright, last bit. To insert that, you have to take the foot peg pin out and put the bolt on in the bracket that comes with it. There you have it, all installed. So I've taken the foot peg dowel pin out and installed the bolts and nut as supplied. the bracket that goes onto the end of the foot peg. There's a bracket here that attached onto the arrow pipe, so that's gone. One bit of advice would be to have this particular clamp facing upwards, so this bolt's facing the top, facing the other direction, purely because if you have bodywork like I do, the belly pan, this interferes. The rest of the construction is pretty simple. As the sensor goes through, up and round. To get into that, I had to take the fuel tank out on the hinges. Need maybe 2 people if you have, otherwise you're on your own, you'll have to remove the whole tank to get access to the connector. Make sure, a bit of good advice and practice really, these Jubilee clips just turn around so they're easy to access once all the body parts are on, the cowl's on, the header pipe's on, rad's on, and I put some thread lock, hard to see, some thread lock just on the top of the nuts, that way just from the vibration. So I use some Loctite 243 I believe, which is a medium strength, that way it would just keep it in place from all the vibration. The exhaust pipe looks great, sounds amazing. Had a little test, put some WD-40 to clean it up so it burns evenly from first go. This at the moment doesn't have a baffle in, it's exceptionally loud, so I'm just going to attach the baffle in just to see how that sounds, and also change the clamp around and then put the bodywork back on. Here's some of the tools I used, which I found indispensable. Good set of sockets, always good, especially these extensions, they always come in good use, trying to reach inaccessible areas. Flexi connections, they're always good. Pliers, long nose pliers, that came with some good use. Also these spanners are good hand. Interestingly, these have smaller shoulders on, so they're actually more accessible than the other sockets. Bit sets and these hex keys, which were also very useful. They're the only tools you really need to get that work done. Well, there you go, it's all complete. One slight problem, trying to get the baffle on. Those hex bolts are not standard hex bolt, well, not metric anyway. They're not 2.5mm and they're not 2mm, so a bit stuck on that. So I'll have to get in touch with how Competition Works, which I have not found them to be the greatest of help, to be honest with you. The instruction sucks, the pre-sale sucks, so you might be on your own on that. I certainly was, almost. So yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what size that is. So until then, let's give it a fire up. Yep, it's certainly louder than the Arrow, that's for sure. Don't think my neighbours are going to be too impressed with it though. I certainly am. It's going to sound amazing. I took it for a spin when I first put it on, and there's plenty of backfiring and popping. Fantastic.